Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're the show that, cuts through all that noise and gets you straight to the knowledge you actually need. Today, it's a big one for anyone with a garden that really crucial seasonal shift. We're talking about the first frost. Our mission today, to be your guide, give you that shortcut so you feel totally on top of this pivotal moment. No overwhelm, just hopefully a few aha moments. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is just how significant this moment is. It really is universal, but especially for gardeners in, colder climates.
Mm.
For Canadian gardeners, that first frost, it's more than just a chilly morning. It's the sign winter is coming. Understanding the timing, well, it's not just useful, it's vital, absolutely vital for plant survival and keeping your garden productive.
Absolutely. So this deep dive is really about helping you figure out which plants need that immediate attention. Harvest, protection. Before that cold snap really hits, we're going to cover, well, the whole range, bringing in pots, the nuances there, getting perennial herbs ready, knowing when to dig up those root veggies like potatoes and carrots,
Oh, yeah.
and even, keeping those tender favorites going as houseplants through the winter. We want to make sure you get this info quickly, thoroughly, and skip the usual info dump feeling.
Exactly. That first frost, it's a clear signal. Nature saying, okay, things are about to change fundamentally in the garden.
It really is that line in the sand, isn't it? It makes you stop and think, okay, what's the immediate impact here? Here's where it gets really interesting,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you've maybe been caught off guard by a sudden cold night before. I know I
Oh,
have.
definitely. And this specific event, the first frost, it's such a critical marker because it's a sudden shift, often irreversible for lots of plants. See, when it freezes, the water inside the plant cells turns to ice, and ice expands, which ruptures those delicate cell walls. For tender plants, that can mean instant damage, wilting, blackening, basically the end.
Oh,
For others, maybe hardier ones, it might just compromise their energy storage, making it harder for them to come back next spring. So, understanding why we prepare, it's direct physical protection, sometimes ensuring long-term health, or simply harvesting before your beautiful produce gets ruined.
that's a really clear picture
Uh.
of the kind of cellular destruction happening.
Mhm.
But is it always? Is it always that dramatic? Like all or nothing? Or are some plants maybe a bit tougher with a light frost?
That's a really good question. It gets into the nuances, doesn't it? Because while, yeah, many plants are super susceptible, some like certain kales, Brussels sprouts, even some mums, they can actually handle a light frost surprisingly well.
Oh, interesting.
It's not that their cells don't freeze, but they have ways to acclimate slowly. Some even produce like natural antifreeze compounds. And here's a potential aha moment for you. Some root vegetables, parsnips are the classic example. They actually get sweeter after a light frost.
Right.
Yeah, the cold triggers a conversion of starches to sugars, improves the flavor,
Hmm.
but, and this is a big but a hard freeze where it gets well below zero for hours. That's still bad news, even for them. It's really about knowing your specific plants and watching the forecast, not just treating every single frost the same.
Okay, that distinction, light frost versus hard freeze, that's super important. Changes the whole approach right then. With that crucial context set, let's get practical. The checklist, what you actually need to do. So what does this all mean for your garden when that frost warning pops up?
Well, you start thinking about, okay, who's most vulnerable? And maybe who's most valuable to me, the plants you've poured time into. These steps are really about tackling those direct threats from the cold.
And one of the simplest things, but maybe easily forgotten, is just bringing in potted plants. I swear, I always see at least one sad, droopy, potted annual on someone's porch after the first cold night.
Why are they so much more vulnerable than the ones right there in the ground? Right. Potted plants are definitely way more vulnerable. It comes down to thermal mass, basically. The soil in a pot. It cools down way, way faster than the big mass of earth in your garden bed. It doesn't hold heat well.
Okay.
So the root systems are just directly exposed to colder air temps, and that soil in the pot can freeze solid much quicker, much deeper. Plants in the ground, they benefit from the earth's insulation. It buffers them against those quick drops.
I see.
So bringing pots in is really about shielding those exposed roots from freezing solid. Simple as that. And hey, it's not just the plants. Think about terracotta pots. They can actually crack if the wet soil inside freezes and expands over and over.
Good point. Okay, so it's the exposed roots, lack of insulation, explains why my container tomatoes always seem to go first.
Definitely. So for someone bringing those pots inside, what's maybe a quick mental checklist to make sure they transition okay and don't bring unwanted critters inside? Excellent point. Yeah, you definitely don't want to import a pest problem. Before you haul anything inside, give it a really good look over. Undersides of leaves, stems, the soil surface, look for aphids, spider mites, mealybugs, the usual suspects.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good idea to maybe give the plant a good spray down with the hose outdoors first. Let it dry, dislodges some hitchhikers, and maybe even gently scrape off the top inch or so of soil and replace it with fresh stuff, just in case there are eggs or larvae hiding there.
Well, that's a clever tip, the soil scraping.
Yeah, it's a small step, but it can save you a real headache down the line.
Definitely noted.
Okay.
Okay, next on our list, preparing perennial herbs. Now, what does prepare perennial herbs really mean for you looking after your garden? It feels different than just grabbing a pot, right?
Oh, absolutely different. Because with perennial herbs, hardy ones anyway, we're not usually trying to save the whole leafy plant as it is. We're ensuring the root crown survives.
The root crown.
Yeah, that's the base right at soil level where the new growth comes from each spring.
Oh.
And this raises an important question. How is this different from saving a tender plant indoors? Well, it's about encouraging dormancy and insulating, not trying to keep it actively growing.
Okay.
So for many hardy types, think thyme, oregano, sage, mint. They usually don't need to come inside at all. Instead, here's a key insight. Mulching is your friend. After they've experienced a few light frosts and naturally start to slow down,
Right.
apply a good thick layer, maybe 4-6 inches of mulch, straw, shredded leaves, wood chips, whatever you have,
Okay.
right around the base. This acts like an insulating blanket, stops the soil freezing and thawing repeatedly.
The freeze-thaw cycle.
Exactly. That heaving action can actually push the root crown right out of the ground, exposing it to harsh cold and winter winds, which cause desiccation.
Desiccation, like drying out.
Precisely. Even dormant plants can lose moisture to cold, dry air. So mulch protects against that too. Now, for more tender perennials, like maybe rosemary in a really cold zone, you might still need to bring those inside. Treat them like houseplants.
That is super helpful. The mulching detail is definitely an aha for people who might just cut everything back.
Yeah.
Shows the strategy difference. Okay, and then the rewarding part, the harvest. Digging up root vegetables, potatoes, carrots. Nothing beats that feeling, does it?
It's satisfying, yeah.
So why is it so important to get these particular ones out before a hard frost really settles in? And what about those parsnips you mentioned earlier, the ones that like a little frost?
Right. So the need to dig up potatoes and carrots before a hard frost is about quality and storage.
Yeah.
These roots are the plant's energy stores. If they freeze solid in the ground, that ice crystal damage we talked about, same thing happens.
Right, the mushiness.
Exactly. They turn mushy when they thaw, lose flavor, and they just won't store well at all. You lose your harvest quality. So getting them out before that deep freeze preserves their texture, flavor, and lets you store them properly over winter. Now, the parsnips, and maybe some carrot varieties too, they can handle, even benefit from, light frost. Sweetens them up.
Mm-hmm.
But even they will be damaged by a hard, deep freeze. The trick is often to harvest them right around the time the ground is about to freeze solid for good, usually after a few decent frosts have passed.
So you're racing against the ground, becoming impenetrable.
Pretty much. You got to get them out before you need a pickaxe.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good timing advice. It really is about protecting that food you worked hard for. Finally then, let's talk about those tender plants we get attached to, the ones some of us try to keep going inside as houseplants over winter. What stands out to you when thinking about bringing a plant inside for winter? What are the big shifts we need to manage beyond just, checking for bugs?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, bringing a tender plant indoors, it's not just moving it physically, it's a huge environmental shift for that plant. You're taking it from likely bright outdoor light, maybe direct sun, natural humidity, good airflow,
Right.
and putting it into a much dimmer, often much drier, more stagnant indoor environment.
Yeah. Totally a different world.
Totally. So considerations are huge. Light is a big one. You really need to acclimate them gradually if possible. Maybe move them to shadier spots outside for a week or two first.
Easing them into it.
Exactly. And watering. Big change needed there. Indoors, with less light, cooler temps maybe, they need way less water. Overwatering is probably the #1 killer of overwintered plants.
Gotcha. Less light, less water.
Yep. And humidity. Indoor air, especially with heating on, is often super dry. Some plants will really struggle. Pebble trays under the pot or maybe occasional misting can help a bit for some species. It allows for that lovely continuity, keeping a favorite plant going year-round. But you have to be proactive about managing those environmental changes.
Right. So it really boils down to responding actively, whether it's moving a pot, mulching an herb, timing that root harvest perfectly, or carefully managing the conditions for an indoor plant. It's all about reacting to that frost signal, taking those informed, proactive steps. For the garden's health, the harvest longevity.
Precisely. Understanding the first frost gives you power as a gardener. It turns what could be a disaster into just a transition, a manageable one. Lets you make choices to protect your plants, maximize what you get from the garden instead of just reacting after the damage is done. It's about really being tuned into those natural cycles.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's crystal clear that prepping for that first frost, it's a massive step for any gardener, especially here in Canada or similar climates. We've touched on saving pots from the freeze, getting herbs ready with mulch, nailing the timing for root veggies, and even making that leap indoors with tender plants.
Indeed. And the knowledge is great, but as you said, knowledge is most valuable when understood and applied. And here, it directly leads to better results in your garden. When you know why you're doing these things, you're not just ticking boxes, you're thinking critically about the garden's rhythm, how to support your plants. It really builds a deeper connection, I think.
That's a perfect way to put it. A deeper connection. So here's a final thought for you to maybe ponder as you look around your own space today. Beyond just that first frost warning, what other, maybe more subtle signals do you notice that hint winter's on its way? Could be leaf color changes, certain birds leaving, maybe just that specific chill in the air at dusk. Keep observing. It's all part of becoming a more intuitive gardener.